Hey everyone, my name is Lachlan Arundel. I'm an early career teacher from Australia, and this is the third video in a series of videos about research practice partnerships for early career teachers. In this video, I'm going to unpack and have a look at some specific dimensions of Cooper, McGregor and Shewchuk's model of RPPs, and specifically have a look at collaborative processes and the value of continuous learning cycles for early career teachers. Now, these two dimensions relative to systems and structures are much more pertinent and relevant to the everyday practice of a classroom teacher. Within the focus of collaborative processes, you focus on the idea of capacity building, which is essential for early career teachers, and sort of working towards having quality retention of teachers, and focuses on a lot of elements of working collaboratively, sort of building trust and developing positive relationships, and looking at that concept of improvement planning and data use. And that final one, improvement planning and data use, I think is really essential for the work of early career teachers because it primarily allows us to sort of target and identify areas of change and improvement. And part of that process is the development of a generation of data and production of original analysis, which increasingly is becoming a part of the profession. And over the course of the last couple of years, I've had the privilege of being able to conduct a couple of action research projects. One in 2021, which focused on the impact of a writing program on sort of student learning in a range of subject areas. And more recently, last year, I had the opportunity to conduct a separate project which looked at how well I was able to focus on teaching my students about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander histories, languages and cultures. But through these processes of action research and sort of planning out, collecting student work samples, looking at data, conducting interviews and looking at transcripts, it's an extremely fruitful and valuable part of improving practice, particularly for an early career teacher. The second domain, which sort of links to that, is this concept of continuous learning cycles. And specifically, there are some elements here which are quite difficult to do, very tricky, especially if you're working in a sort of multi-stakeholder, multi-level sort of research practice partnership. But those processes of implementation, adaptation and evaluation involve a lot of stakeholders, but it's important for early career teachers to participate and be involved in it as well. Part of becoming a new teacher involves the socialisation and sort of the innovation that comes with being part of the profession, and it gets really difficult to sort of navigate some of those tensions. And we talked in a previous video about policy context and system alignment and everything else that needs to work together. By the same token, there's a lot of tensions that early career teachers are dealing with, particularly in that transition year and into the first few years of teaching. So there's a lot of scope for having these continuous learning cycles, being a part of these continuous learning cycles as a way to not only target change and improvement in practice, but also help teachers develop professional identities and do some identity work around themselves as a teacher. And there's so much scope there for professional growth and reflection by looking at some of these elements of the RPPs and thinking forward about sort of current practice and what can be done to augment and improve that in the future. And in the article, the authors outline that Sharples et al.'s sort of implementation guide for evidence use is a really good framework to work with in conjunction with the RPP framework. But ultimately, through these collaborative processes and sort of continuous learning cycles, it's focusing on specific dimensions of that, then early career teachers are able to collaborate with other stakeholders and ultimately make research real.